Chapter 1074. Although Ding Juesi was a mess now, some habits were not so easy to change. He had put on a disguise before he came, but after the struggle just now, the disguise was almost removed. Moreover, he did not expect that someone in such a remote place would be able to recognize him. For a moment, he did not know whether to be happy or cry. Sometimes, it only took a moment to go from sympathy to disgust and rejection. After Ding Juesi was recognized, he received a wave of people pointing at him and looking at him with disgust. However, what was gratifying was that Wen Jingping's situation was not much better than his. It's really him? No wonder I thought he looked so familiar just now. Some time ago, my daughter complained to me because of him. Men these days all look like dogs, but behind their backs, they do all kinds of things. Isn't that right? It's said that his wife's family is very rich, and she's beautiful. She even gave birth to a son and a daughter for him. A son and a daughter make up the word good, but he's still fooling around outside. You say, these dog men are really too much. Their wives are beautiful and capable, they have both children, and their families are harmonious. Why can't they think about it and look for women outside? Who knows? There are always so many reasons for men to cheat. To put it bluntly, it's nothing more than living a stable life for a long time and wanting some excitement. After seeing his wife for a long time, he wants to change his taste. It's best if it's someone young and beautiful, who's completely different from his wife's personality. Young and beautiful? Sigh, do you think this woman could be the mistress? As they talked, the topic inevitably turned to Wen Jingping. Wen Jingping's expression changed slightly, and she suddenly had an ominous premonition. Sure enough, in the next second, she saw a few people take out their phones and search in front of her. Wen Jingping was considered an insider, and a lousy drama with her as the protagonist had just been broadcasted not long ago. They could still find relevant information if they searched carefully. F***ck, it's really her. After all this time, it turns out that she's a mistress who destroys other people's families. No wonder I always saw her wearing a mask sneaking around when I took the children out to play or to buy groceries. Occasionally, I could see a few young girls arguing with her and pointing at her. At that time, I sympathized with her. I thought she had offended someone and was being targeted. Now, it seems that he has done something shameful. He deserves to be ridiculed. Ugh, you're clearly a pair of adulterers, yet you were still saying pitifully that you didn't know them. What a waste of my sympathy. Isn't it? In the past, she might have flirted and seduced him. Now that she saw that he was broke, she acted like a chaste and virtuous woman. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have called the police. What the hell? Wen Jingping listened to the mockery of the people around her, and her face turned as white as a sheet of paper. What was even more despairing was that the men who had restrained Ding Juesi and prevented him from moving around also found out about the identities of the two people. The situation became awkward. He thought he was enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens, but he realized that the person he was helping wasn't a good person either. What was even worse was that this woman was a homewrecker. They didn't even need to raise their heads to feel the death stare from their wives. What should they do? Should they continue to hold him down or let him go? They felt that it was embarrassing to let him go like this, but if they didn't let him go, they would definitely be questioned if they were charmed by this woman when they returned. They would have to face another family war. Chapter 1075. Between a husband and wife battle and losing face, the few of them rationally chose the latter. They looked at each other and released Ding Juesi at the same time. Wen Jingping's face turned pale when she saw this scene. She struggled to get up and wanted to run, but she realized that there was nowhere for her to run. Fortunately, the previous call to the police was still very useful. Ding Juesi had just regained his freedom, and before he could do anything to Wen Jingping, the police arrived. After a brief understanding of the situation, the two of them were taken away. Wen Jingping was relieved when she was taken away. Whether it was an affair or a mistress, it was all a moral issue. However, Ding Juesi had made a move on her and even tried to force her. In a way, it was already illegal. With so many people around, he wouldn't have the chance to make a move on her. That was indeed the case. After Wen Jingping finished her statement at the police station, she left first. Ding Juesi, on the other hand, was temporarily detained for trespassing, injuring people, and intending to commit indecent acts on the victim. If no one came to bail him out, he would probably have to stay in jail for a while. Wen Jingping heaved a sigh of relief when she came out, but she didn't let her guard down. She knew very well that after today, she and Ding Juesi would completely fall out. It was fine if Ding Juesi couldn't come out, but once he came out, he would definitely find trouble with her. Although he was in a mess now, he could still kill Wen Jingping. What should I do now? Your props are no longer effective against him. When he comes out, he will definitely think of a way to kill me or even get someone to humiliate me. I can't just sit and wait for death. I definitely can't just sit and wait for death. The system saw that she was flustered and kindly reminded her. The only way for the host now is to find yourself a backer. A backer who is more powerful than Ding Juesi and can protect the host from him. That's easy for you to say. Do you think I haven't thought about it? But how can you find a backer just because you want to? I can't count on Yin Jihong anymore. Where do you want me to find a backer that I can rely on now? Isn't there a ready-made one in front of you? Wen Jingping narrowed her eyes and asked excitedly, who is it? The world's male lead. Who are you talking about? Dou Tianyi? That's right. Wen Jingping's expression changed slightly. Are you messing with me? You know that. After testing, the world's male lead's condition worsened in advance half a month ago. The host can take advantage of this opportunity to gain a wave of favorability. Otherwise, once the world's male lead dies of illness, before the system could finish, Wen Jingping's eyes lit up and she said excitedly, what will happen? Will I be assigned a new male lead? I won't. The world's male lead has passed away due to illness. The host's female lead halo will completely disappear, and she will be reduced to cannon fodder under the foundation of the world. Please consider carefully. When Wen Jingping heard that Dou Tianyi had died of illness and that she would be reduced to cannon fodder, just like herself in her previous life, her face turned pale. No, I can't repeat the mistakes of my previous life. I don't want to be cannon fodder. You want me to find Dou Tianyi, is it because there's a way to treat him? The host can alleviate the world's male lead's condition through the item bonus in the exchange system. It was only alleviating, not curing. This was a huge loophole in the language, but Wen Jingping couldn't care less now. She could not care so much anymore. She urgently needed a life-saving straw, and this straw was most likely Dou Tianyi. Chapter 1076. Su Yiyan would never have thought that after such a twist of fate, Wen Jingping would still be sent back to Dou Tianyi's side. After the scar removal ointment in the medicinal cuisine house became famous in the entertainment industry, investors came to the door one after another, wanting to cooperate with them. In addition, more and more people wanted to dig out the owner of this restaurant with different purposes. If it weren't for Yu Zian and the others, Su Yiyan's identity would have been uncovered long ago. Hua Chenhuan did not hide this matter from Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan also felt strange after learning about it. Why are there so many people suddenly? It should be the patients you treated before. The patients I treated before? Su Yiyan was startled. Only then did she remember that the people she treated before did come back with good news one after another. Ning Chirue had completely recovered. In the past 6 months, he had been doing both variety shows and acting, and his resources were quite amazing. The elderly couple who were unable to have children, introduced by her uncle and aunt, finally got pregnant with their own child a year ago after recuperating for a while. Although the woman inevitably suffered a lot during the pregnancy process, the final result was worth it. A few months ago, the couple's daughter was born. Now, the family of 3 was living a simple but warm life in their hometown. In addition, old Master Jiang, who had helped Hua Chenhuan take back the Hua Corporation from Hua Qihan's hands, came to visit in person a few days ago with Jiang Qingrun, who could finally walk upright, and his little grandson. Old Master Jiang, who had been cured of his illness, was in particularly good spirits. He was also very generous. When he came, he brought a lot of rare antiques and expensive gifts. Su Yiyen was a little embarrassed to accept it, but if she didn't accept it, the old man would be angry with her. In the end, she could only give the two of them a few more bags of medicine to nourish their bodies and let them take them back to stew soup for themselves. Then, there was Li Xingnan's burn this time. Everyone is afraid of death. The richer they are, the more afraid they are of death because they have too many things. On the contrary, for those who struggled at the bottom of society, who did not have enough to eat or even carried huge debts, and who were crushed by life bit by bit, death was sometimes a luxurious relief. Once you have too many things, you won't be willing to die. Just like him in the past, he had lost too much and had once thought of dying. However, when he obtained something that was originally out of his reach and obtained the stable and happy life he had now, the word death no longer appeared in his future plans. But fate is fair in some ways. It won't make you immortal just because you're rich, and it won't make you die suddenly just because you're too poor. It's just that after seeing the beauty of life, some people are always unwilling to submit to fate. When the accumulation of wealth reached a certain level, people's pursuit would change. They would begin to pursue other things, such as health, longevity, but many times, they would find that these things could not be bought with money. If the king of hell wanted you to die at midnight, he would never let you live past midnight. Even if you were worth billions, in the face of disease, this money might not be able to buy you an extra day or an extra hour. At this time, the people who could help them snatch lives from the hands of the Grim Reaper undoubtedly became the focus of everyone's attention. Su Yiyen met Hua Chenhuan's gaze and immediately saw through his inner thoughts. Are you worried? Chapter 1077. Hua Chenhuan took a deep look at Su Yiyen, his eyes full of complex emotions. He was indeed worried, not that he couldn't protect her, but that Su Yiyen's heart would soften. Life and death were things that tested human nature the most. No one could guarantee that those who were at the end of their rope would do anything to cure their illness or even survive. When that time came, some people wouldn't care about your ability or whether you really couldn't do anything about their illness. If they couldn't cure you, they would drag you down with them. At least there would be someone to accompany them on the road to the netherworld. Su Yiyen could probably guess what he was worried about, and comforted him in turn. Actually, I've thought about this before. Some things are more hidden, the more curious people will be and dig deeper. Being open about it can save a lot of trouble. In the past 2 years, Su Yiyen had gradually exchanged all the Chinese medicinal herbs that he could exchange for and handed them over to the research institute and the company under him for safekeeping and planting. Previously, the pharmaceutical cram school at a university was held once or twice a week. Other than the period when she was pregnant, which was why she didn't continue to attend classes because her body was heavy. It turned out that these highly educated intellectuals with real talent were much more powerful than Su Yiyen, who had become a half-baked person with a cheat code. In the beginning, these people were still ignorant and were more curious than serious about the things that Su Yiyen said. Later, these people gradually realized the value of these things, and also understood why Yi Qiliang and the others were so excited and lost their composure. Many people's mentality also changed. They no longer looked at the lessons with a novel perspective, but they really wanted to absorb the knowledge and use it to help those who really needed help. Now, many people in the class could draw inferences from Su Yiyen's lessons. Occasionally, the questions that they raised could stop Su Yiyen. In another 1 or 2 years, Su Yiyen probably wouldn't have anything to teach them. He just needed to throw the books in front of them, and they would know how to learn by themselves. I have good things in my hands. Those who want to ask me for help know this, the people in the research institute know this, and the higher-ups know even more. Because of this, they won't let me get hurt. An ordinary man was innocent, but treasuring a jade ring would arouse the envy of others. This was indeed an unchanging truth. However, this kind of situation usually only happened when the person with the jade ring had not truly grown up. If this had happened when she had just started streaming, Su Yiyen might have been a little worried, but now, instead of worrying about this, why don't you think about what gift you should give to please your mother-in-law on her birthday in 2 days? It was indeed Qing Shuqin's birthday in 2 days, but it wasn't on the same date. Moreover, the Ching family had just had an accident. Although it was scary but not dangerous, everyone still had some lingering fears in their hearts, so they weren't in the mood to celebrate. Mr. Su was thinking about asking Su Yiyen to bring her husband and children home for a meal on his wife's birthday. That way, the whole family would be safe and reunited. This was more valuable than any gift. As expected, Hua Chenhuan's attention was diverted. Her eyes flashed slightly, and she asked with a smile, "Then what do you think I should give to my mother-in-law to please her?" Su Yiyen raised his eyebrows and pretended to be reserved. "You're asking me your own problem? You're your mother-in-law's most beloved daughter. Naturally, you know her best. When it comes to giving a gift, whether it's expensive or not is one thing. It has to be delivered to her heart. In our family, you're the one who knows what your mother-in-law likes the most." Chapter 1078. That's true. Su Yiyen's lips curled up slightly as she nodded in agreement. Then, she heard Hua Chenhuan say, "It's just that it's not a good idea to give a gift that stands out too much. What if your father and brother think that I'm stealing their limelight and being too insensible? Wouldn't the loss outweigh the gain?" Su Yiyen choked, but she quickly calmed down. She snorted coldly and said, "So, it's useless for you to ask me to cheat for you. It's true that I know my mother, but my father and brother also know her well. They've already thought of all the gifts you can think of. They won't give you a chance to show off at all. You'd better think of another way. What you said makes sense. This is going to be difficult." Su Yiyen saw that Hua Chenhuan seemed to be really stumped. She rolled her eyes and laughed. "I know a gift that only you can give. My mother will definitely like it." "What is it?" "Your mother likes Xingxing so much. She must like children very much. Let's give them a grandson or granddaughter. She will definitely like this gift." Hua Chenhuan was stunned. She subconsciously glanced at Su Yiyen and said meaningfully, "You want to give me a child that much?" Su Yiyen blushed and said angrily, "It's not for you. I'm just worried that the baby will be too lonely. I want to give birth to another baby to accompany him." Although she knew that Su Yiyen was just being stubborn, Hua Chenhuan couldn't help but feel a little jealous. "It feels like I'm just a tool." Su Yiyen immediately heard the sourness in someone's voice. She blushed and muttered softly, "What's wrong with being a tool? You're not happy to be a tool?" As soon as she finished speaking, Su Yiyen felt as if she was lifted into the air. She was so scared that she subconsciously hugged Hua Chenhuan's neck. "What are you doing?" "Of course, I'm using my actions to show someone that I'm happy to be a tool." After saying that, Hua Chenhuan happily carried Su Yiyen into the house and did not come out until dinner time. On Qing Xiuqin's birthday, Su Yiyen woke up early in the morning. She personally helped her little guy put on a fluffy panda jumpsuit and taught him to call out, "Grandma," a few times. "Grandma, come, recite after mommy." "Grandma, crooked pop." Although the little guy already knew how to call people, most of the words he called were still repeated like father and mother. The word grandmother was still a bit difficult for him. Su Yiyen was not in a hurry. Along the way, he patiently repeated these two words to the little fellow. What was rare was that the little fellow didn't find her noisy either. Whenever Su Yiyen repeated herself, he would repeat the same thing. Coupled with his panda jumpsuit, he looked really cute and adorable. Fortunately, hard work paid off. The two of them practiced for a long time in the back seat of the car, and the little guy finally shouted properly. Su Yiyen was happy. She picked up the child and gave him a big kiss, which made the child giggle. "Baby, you're so awesome. Remember to call Grandma when you see her later. Grandma will be very happy to hear you call her." Hua Chenhuan glanced at his wife and son, who were all smiles. He mischievously reached out and pinched his son's chubby cheeks. He pinched his son's little mouth, making him look cute and pitiful at the same time. "It took you so long to learn. You're so stupid." After that, he pinched his son's little face a few more times before letting go. The little fellow was unexpectedly pinched and ridiculed. As soon as he was free, he hurriedly got into his mother's arms and blew a bubble at his unreliable scumbag father. Tue, bad, bad. Chapter 1079. As soon as he spoke, the adults in the car were all stunned. Su Yiyen was the first to react. She chuckled and said, "Little guy, you can even tell good from bad. I don't know who you got your intelligence from." The little guy seemed to have heard that his mother was praising him. He was happy and aggrieved. He hugged Su Yiyen's neck tightly and sniffled miserably. He looked miserable and said, "I was bullied. Mom, please seek justice for me." When Su Yiyen saw him like this, her heart softened. She looked up at Hua Chenhuan and said with anger and amusement, "See, the little guy is sensible now. He knows who is good and who is bad. Don't bully him in the future. Otherwise, when he grows up, he will bully you." "How dare he?" Hua Chenhuan narrowed his eyes dangerously. He looked like a strict father who was ready to teach the naughty child a lesson at any time. If it were his company's employees, their legs would have turned to jelly when they saw his expression change. The little guy was a newborn calf, but he was not afraid at all. Perhaps he heard that his unreliable father was questioning his future ability. The little guy puffed up his cheeks and stared back at him with a serious face. The two similar faces stared at each other with the same expression. Neither of them was willing to bow down to the other. The atmosphere in the car was a little strange for a moment. Su Yiyen looked at the older one and then looked at the younger one in her arms. She couldn't help but laugh out loud. Okay. I really have to hand it to you too. Both father and son have the same bad temper. Do you still want to fight at home in the future?" The father and son who were suddenly labeled as bad-tempered. "No, we don't." "Don't talk nonsense." An internal family war disappeared under Su Yiyen's meaningful half-threat. Gu Xiaoyang, who was driving in front, looked at the magical situation and smiled slightly. He secretly thought, why else would you say that a person's family status can be seen from his tone of voice and daily behavior? Their young master and little young master were definitely at the top of the food chain at home. Only young madam was a legend at the top of the food chain. Su Yiyen did not notice the strange behavior of the people in the front row. After giving the father and son who were vying for her favor a gentle warning, she put her mind back on Qing Shuqin's birthday. Half an hour later, the family of 3 arrived at the Su residence. Su Yiyen's father and a few others were already waiting at the entrance when they received the call. When they saw Su Yiyen carrying the child down the stairs, they immediately rushed up and snatched the child away from her. That's right, it was robbery. Qing Shuqin took advantage of the fact that it was his birthday today to snatch away his precious grandson, intending to monopolize him for the whole day. The little guy didn't disappoint his mother's expectations. As soon as he was carried by Qing Shuqin, he obediently shouted, why? Qing Shuqin didn't realize what he was saying at first. It wasn't until the little guy shouted a second time that he realized that he was calling Grandma. His eyes lit up and he said happily, Grandma, he's calling Grandma. Io, Grandma's little sweetheart knows how to call Grandma. Look, our little Xingxing knows how to call Grandma. He's so smart. While showing off, Qing Shuqin excitedly gave the baby one kiss after another. On the other hand, Mr. Su and Brother Su were so jealous that they turned into lemons. It was bad enough that they didn't get to hold their little grandson, little nephew, but they also had to face this enviable show-off. So what if he was the birthday girl? Why didn't they think of doing this on their birthday? Now that they thought about it, they had missed out on 100 million yuan. Chapter 1080. The father and son were jealous and regretful. On the other side, Su Yiyen was also a little jealous. Clearly, before this, I was their most beloved child. Now that a younger child has appeared, I have become the child that no one wants. Hua Chenhuan was amused by Su Yiyen's sad aria. She reached out and pinched her nose, saying, it's okay. They don't want you, but I want you. In my place, you will always be the most beautiful child. Su Yuxuan, who was standing on the side, heard the two's words and felt goosebumps all over her body. She couldn't understand how the man who looked so gloomy and cold in the past had become so lovey-dovey after marriage. Sure enough, people in love were all unsightly. The two elders were busy playing with the child, so they didn't pay much attention to the two's movements. After entering the door, Su Yiyen ran straight to the small kitchen, ready to personally cook a table full of dishes for Qing Shuqin. Although the cook at home also knew how to cook, Su Yiyen still wanted to show her filial piety on such a rare day. Hua Qinhuan followed closely behind, followed by another big tail. "Brother, why are you here?" Su Yiyen looked at Su Yuxuan, who followed Hua Qinhuan into the kitchen, with a blank face. Su Yuxuan touched his nose. Of course, he couldn't directly say that he came to find them to relieve his boredom because he couldn't compete with the two elders. "I saw that you were about to enter the kitchen, so I wanted to see if there was anything I could help with." "I don't have anything to do here. Hua Qinhuan alone is enough to help." "Brother, you should go back to the living room to accompany Mom and Dad." Su Yuxuan originally just wanted to come over to make up the numbers. Now that he was chased away by his sister, he became enthusiastic. There is strength in numbers. One more person will be more efficient. We can also eat earlier, right? Are you sure you're here to help and not to cause trouble? Su Yiyen looked suspiciously at her inexplicably warm-hearted brother. Then, as if she had thought of something, she smiled and said, "There's really no need. There's only so much space in the kitchen. With so many people walking around, it's not crowded at all." Su Yuxuan silently glanced at the large kitchen that could accommodate 5 or 6 people and still have room to spare. He felt that he needed to give it a proper name. Unfortunately, before he could say anything, Su Yiyen added, "Brother, if you want to be a helper, you should bring a sister-in-law home earlier. When sister-in-law cooks, you can help her by the side. You can stay in the kitchen for as long as you like. I'm sure no one will disturb you." Su Yuxuan. Why do these words sound so wrong to me? Before he could think of a reason, Su Yiyen had already brought Hua Qinhuan into the small kitchen. Su Yuxuan stood alone at the kitchen door for a long time before he realized that his sister was displeased with him for disturbing the couple's private time. She even wanted him to bring a girlfriend who could cook to help her. Did she really think that girls who could cook like her and were especially good at it were everywhere these days? How infuriating. So what if she had a husband? His cute and obedient sister was clearly not like this in the past. It must be that dog of a man inside who had led her astray. Achoo! Hua Qinhuan's nose itched and she couldn't help but sneeze. What's wrong? Su Yiyen saw this and immediately came over nervously. Did you catch a cold? Hua Qinhuan grabbed Su Yiyen's hand that was about to touch her forehead. With a smile in her eyes, she glanced at the door meaningfully and said, "Someone is probably cursing me in their mind." Chapter 1081. Su Yiyen immediately knew who he was talking about when he saw the look in his eyes. He chuckled and said, "Who told you to take his only sister? You deserve to be scolded." Hua Qinhuan could tell what Su Yiyen was thinking. She felt helpless and amused. Aren't you afraid that your brother will find an opportunity to put a gunny sack on me in a moment of anger? You take the car everywhere you go. How would he have the opportunity to put a gunny sack on you? Is that the point? Isn't it? Hua Qinhuan lowered her head and stared at Su Yiyen for a while. In the end, she couldn't dissuade her little wife. She smiled faintly and said, "Yes." Only then was Su Yiyen satisfied and focused on preparing the ingredients to be used today. Because it was a family, Su Yiyen didn't plan to cook too many rare and time-consuming dishes. Other than the cake and longevity noodles, which were indispensable birthday foods, most of the dishes were home-cooked dishes that leaned toward Qing Shuqin's taste. The family gathered together and had a good meal. It was no different from every weekend when Hua Qinhuan would accompany Su Yiyen back to the Su family to eat with her parents. However, after the meal, there was an additional cake dessert. Wait. Su Yiyen stopped Qing Shuqin from preparing to cut the cake and reminded him with a smile, Mom, you haven't made a wish yet. Make a wish? Qing Shuqin was slightly startled, but then he couldn't help but laugh. I'm not like you young people. Why do you need to make these fancy things? What does this have to do with whether I'm young or not? Mom, don't tell me that you have no desires at your age and don't have any wishes? Yan Yan is right. Su Yuxuan also echoed, Mom, this has nothing to do with your age. You're the birthday girl today. You're the oldest. As long as it's your wish, it will definitely come true. As soon as he said that, Qing Xiuqin suddenly turned to look at Su Yuxuan, which made his hair stand. Am I wrong? Mom, why are you looking at me like that? It's nothing. It's just that what you said just now reminded me that I do have a wish right now. What? Everyone's attention was instantly focused. Qing Shuqin's gaze swept over each of them one by one before he smiled faintly and said, There are still too few people in our family. I won't talk about Yan Yan, but at least he's married and has my precious grandson. It would be great if she could have more children in the future, but if she didn't, she wouldn't force it. You, on the other hand, are a few years older than Yan Yan. It's time for you to settle down and find someone. It was no wonder that Qing Shuqin was so worried. Su Yuxuan's first love was so heart-wrenching that Qing Shuqin's mother was worried that he was afraid of girls for a long time. It wasn't easy to persuade him to put down his work and work hard on blind dates, but the people he met were all weirdos. Not only did they fail to awaken his heart that longed for love, but they also made him reject the word blind dates. Now, seeing that Su Yiyan's family was happy, while Su Yuxuan was still a single dog who was abused every day, the contrast was not ordinary. Su Yuxuan, who was unexpectedly urged to get married. Did he just shoot himself in the foot? If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have said anything QAQ. Fortunately, Qing Shuqin just casually mentioned it and didn't dwell on this topic. After the family ate the cake, Su Yiyan and Qing Shuqin took the little guy home. As soon as they got into the car, Su Yiyan couldn't help but ask curiously, What gift did you give Mom just now? You're being so secretive and not letting Mom open it in front of everyone? Could it be something shameful? Chapter 1082. Hua Chenhuan seemed to have expected Su Yiyan to ask this question, so he deliberately kept her in suspense. It's not something shameful. The reason why I didn't let mother-in-law open it is because I was worried that mother-in-law would refuse. Huh? Su Yiyan blinked. Borrowed flowers to present Buddha? Borrowed flowers from whom? Of course, it's from someone who tried to scheme against mother-in-law's family not long ago. Su Yiyan was startled and surprised. You mean Do Tianyi? Yes. What flowers did you borrow from him? Hua Chenhuan didn't hide anything and said truthfully, I just gave mother-in-law the shares of Do Tianyi's company. The shares of Do Tianyi's company? Do Tianyi is seriously ill, and the Do group is divided internally, each doing their own thing. Some small shareholders saw that the situation wasn't good, so they secretly sold their scattered shares. Although it's just scattered shares, it's still a considerable amount. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Whether mother-in-law keeps it or sells it, it's a good investment. The most important thing is that mother-in-law should be able to vent her anger a little by getting these things. Su Yiyan roughly understood Hua Chenhuan's intentions after hearing his words. Do Tianyi bribed the internal employees of her uncle's company and urged Song Yinyuan to do some small tricks behind his back. Wasn't it the idea of taking advantage of the panic of the shareholders, the internal employees, and even the board of directors, when they sold their shares at a low price to take advantage of the loopholes and effortlessly take over her uncle's company? Now, his scheme failed and he was punished. He really deserved it. Do Tianyi is scheming and vengeful, but no matter how scheming he is, it's useless if he doesn't have a healthy body. Hua Chenhuan raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, Pity him? Su Yiyan shook his head. There must be something hateful about a pitiful person. I'm not a saint who would sympathize with a pervert who schemed against me and my family. Hua Chenhuan's complexion improved a little. She held Su Yiyan's slightly cold hand and comforted her, Don't worry. He won't have the chance to plot against you and your family again. Yes. Xiao Budian, who was in Su Yiyan's embrace, seemed to have noticed the strange atmosphere in the car. He suddenly raised his head and called out a few times, trying to attract the attention of the two people. Thanks to his interruption, the two of them stopped talking about Do Tianyi and lowered their heads to play with the little fellow. In the blink of an eye, the little guy was almost 1 year old. Su Yiyan wanted to hold a lively first birthday party for the child. She wanted to invite many relatives and friends to join in the fun. Hua Chenhuan had no objection to this. He wanted the whole world to know how happy he was. Su Yiyan wanted to invite a lot of people. Most of them were in the local area, except for the Qing family. There was also Jing Qianyang, who had left for a matter 1 or 2 months ago and had yet to return. Speaking of which, Uncle hasn't contacted us for a long time. Could it be? Hua Chenhuan heard Su Yiyan's words and paused for a moment. She immediately smiled and said, "He rarely contacted me when he was abroad." "It's okay." Su Yiyan frowned slightly. "How is it the same?" "He was at least safe when he was abroad. This time, he went to." Halfway through her words, Su Yiyan realized that compared to her, Hua Chenhuan was probably more worried about Jing Qianyang's recent situation. It was just that he didn't say it out loud because he was worried that it would affect her. "I hope that before the baby's first birthday, all these messy things can be settled. Uncle can also rush back to attend the baby's first birthday party." Hua Chenhuan glanced at Su Yiyan's hair. Her lips curved slightly and she softly replied, "He will." Chapter 1083. As soon as Hua Chenhuan finished speaking, the little boy raised his hand and cried out happily, "Awu, Mama." Yeah, the two adults were stunned. Hua Chenhuan reacted first. She couldn't help but reach out and pinch her son's chubby face. "See, the baby thinks so too." The little boy seemed to have figured out something after his father pinched his face so many times. He was no longer as silly and obedient as before. As soon as Hua Chenhuan started to pinch his face, the smile on his face disappeared. He turned his head and plunged into Su Yiyan's arms, as if he had been wronged. Seeing this, Su Yiyan gave Hua Chenhuan a warning glare and patted the little boy's back a few times. "Baby, do you miss your granduncle too? When the baby is 1 year old, granduncle will come back to play with the baby, okay?" The little boy had a good memory. He obviously had some impression of his granduncle, who had lived at home for a while and liked to play with him. Hearing Su Yiyan's words, he clapped his hands to show his support. Pull him over, okay. Let granduncle do it." Su Yiyan kissed the little boy. "Then let's ask our little lucky star to bless granduncle to come back safely and celebrate your birthday with you. Otherwise, the baby will have one less gift to receive." Pfft. As soon as Su Yiyan said this, before Hua Chenhuan could say anything, Gu Xiaoyang, who was in the driver's seat, couldn't help laughing. If Mr. Zheng knew that the young madam and the young master missed him so much only because of the gift he hadn't given them, how would he feel? Hua Chenhuan was also amused by his wife's magical thinking. She said, "Granduncle likes the baby so much. He will definitely prepare a very, very big gift for the baby." Jing Qianyang, who had been warned that he would have to spend a lot of money, was speechless. "He was really my nephew." Just as the family was thinking about how to scam Jing Qianyang when he came back, Hua Chenhuan's phone suddenly rang, breaking the silence in the car. Hua Chenhuan frowned and picked up the phone, but her face darkened after hearing what the person on the other end said. Su Yiyan saw the change in his expression, and his heart jumped. "What happened?" "Nothing." Hua Chenhuan hung up the phone. "There's a small mistake in the company. It's not a big deal, just a little troublesome. I have to deal with it myself." Su Yiyan recalled Hua Chenhuan's reaction just now. She didn't think that such a small thing would make him change his expression so easily, but she didn't ask. Business is more important. Since you have something to do, go and do it first. We're fine. Let Xiaoyang send you to the company first. I'll take the little guy back in another car. No need. Yan Bai is already on his way. I'll take his car to the company later. Xiaoyang will send you back. Okay. Su Yiyan saw that he had arranged everything, so she didn't argue anymore. It was obvious that the matter was really urgent. In less than a quarter of an hour, Zui Yanbai rushed over in his car. The two cars met at a fork in the road. Hua Chenhuan got out of the car and didn't forget to say, if there's nothing else, go home first. Don't stay outside for too long. Su Yiyan knew what he was worried about. She leaned over and kissed him. Okay, I'll wait for you at home with the baby. Okay. Hua Chenhuan kissed her back and turned to leave. Su Yiyan looked at his back. She didn't know why, but she suddenly felt a little confused. She had a feeling that something big was going to happen. Chapter 1084. A woman's sixth sense was a particularly mysterious thing. After Hua Chenhuan left, Su Yiyan always felt inexplicably flustered. The little boy in her arms pulled at her several times, but could not get her attention, until, warning, warning. A few cars behind the host's car at 2:00 are suspicious. There are traces of deliberate tracking, and this group of people may have. The system did not finish the last word. Instead, it made a long beeping sound. Obviously, it had been censored. What kind of words would be censored? In just 1 or 2 seconds, Su Yiyan had already guessed, and her heart skipped a beat. System, are you serious? There are people in the cars behind. System scan. It can't be wrong. When Su Yiyan got the confirmation, the first thing that came to her mind was the people that Jing Qianyang and Hua Chenhuan had tried so hard to catch. Back then, these people could be so cruel to Hua Chenhuan's parents and fake it as an accident. Now, they were targeting her and her child. At the thought of this, Su Yiyan subconsciously hugged the little boy in her arms. She instinctively picked up her phone and called Hua Chenhuan. If the people in the cars behind were really the people she thought they were, these people were much more terrifying than Dou Tianyi's bodyguards. She, Gu Xiaoyang, and a few accompanying bodyguards were no match for them. Not to mention that she was holding a child in her arms. What if? No, there was no what if. However, when it rains, it pours. Su Yiyan called Hua Chenhuan several times with trembling hands. It was either no answer or an inexplicable busy tone. This made Su Yiyan's uneasiness rise to the peak. Hua Chenhuan did not answer her call. This situation had never happened before. Did she not notice, or was she hindered by something? At the thought that something might have happened to Hua Chenhuan, Su Yiyan's scalp went numb. Before she could think further, there was a loud bang. The cars that had been following behind them suddenly crashed into their car from behind. Su Yiyan, who was sitting in the back seat, swayed. She subconsciously held the child in her arms tightly and almost fell forward. Damn it! Gu Xiaoyang had also noticed the strange situation behind him. The collision of the car made him even more certain that this group of people did not come with good intentions. After cursing in a low voice, he hurriedly turned his head to look at Su Yiyan and asked with concern, "Young madam, are you and young master hurt?" "I'm fine. How are you?" "I'm fine too. Sit tight and don't worry about anything. I will definitely send you and the young master home safely." Su Yiyan was stunned. She knew that Gu Xiaoyang was going to speed up and try to get rid of the cars behind them. She nodded quickly. Considering that those people had weapons in their hands, Su Yiyan nervously slid down a little with the child in her arms so that the back of the chair could temporarily block them from the sight of the people behind them. There was no doubt that she had foresight in her actions. As if they could see that Gu Xiaoyang wanted to get rid of them, the people in the cars suddenly became angry. They did not care that they were still not far from the downtown area and directly fired a few bullets at their car. Fortunately, Hua Chenhuan had always been concerned about the safety of the family. Several of the family's cars were bulletproof. The bullets from behind did not hurt Su Yiyan and the others. They did not even damage the car shell. Even so, the sound of the bullets hitting the car still hit the hearts of the two adults in the car. At this moment, the two of them clearly realized that the people chasing them were desperados who really wanted to kill them. Chapter 1085. Since she couldn't get through to Hua Chenhuan, Su Yiyan couldn't just sit there and wait for her death. Su Yiyan called the police as fast as she could and explained the situation at the scene in a stuttering manner. After that, she called her elder brother. Listening to the familiar voice on the other end of the phone and the gentle comfort of trying to stay calm, Su Yiyan's nose twitched and she almost cried. At this moment, there was another collision behind her that was even more violent than the previous one. Su Yiyan's phone slipped out of her hand and fell into the gap at the edge of the car. Su Yuxuan, who was already nervous on the other end of the phone, heard the sound and her face turned pale. She anxiously shouted Su Yiyan's name into the phone, but Su Yiyan couldn't hear her. Perhaps the car was tired of the chase, but this time, the car behind them crashed very hard and the car almost lost its balance. Su Yiyan finally sat down with the child in her arms. Her head was buzzing. After calming down, her first reaction was to ask the system for help. System, other than those medicinal seeds and all kinds of medical skills, do you have any life-saving tools? Hurry up and exchange for one for me. The system, which had been constantly issuing warnings, paused for a few seconds when it heard Su Yiyan's request before replying heartlessly. No. What's the use of having you? The system, which was despised, expressed its grievance and tried to clear its name. The system isn't the kind of combat system that has a high combat value. The system even has classifications? Su Yiyan was actually grasping at straws. She had been with the system for 2 or 3 years, so how could she not know what was in the system? She only asked this because she wanted to be lucky. She thought that if the system really hid some secret life-saving weapon, Xiaoyang, how's the situation? Can you escape? Gu Xiaoyang didn't turn back. Instead, he stared at the cars that were getting closer and closer and the several trucks that looked similar to the ones behind them at the intersection not far away. He gritted his teeth and said, "Young madam, there are too many of them. We can only try our best to delay them. But as time goes on, I'm afraid." Su Yiyan's heart skipped a beat. He could roughly feel the severity of the situation. Compared to a few minutes ago, a few more cars joined the large group chasing after them. It was obvious that these people came prepared. It was only a matter of time before they were caught. Even before they were caught, it was very likely that they would be blocked by an ambush vehicle that would appear out of nowhere and become the turtle in a jar. As it turned out, their worries were not unfounded. After turning a corner and knocking away a small truck that was trying to stop them, their car finally drove off the main road. However, at the other two ends of this three-way road, there was actually a group of cars guarding. It was obvious that they wanted to block them here. There was an ambush in front and pursuers behind. The slightest carelessness could cost them their lives. Gu Xiaoyang's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. Su Yiyan's heart was pounding. At this critical moment, the system, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke up. "Drive to the right and don't look back." Right? Su Yiyan subconsciously looked at the cars on the right. Compared to the cars on the left, the cars on the right did look weaker and easier to break through. Although she didn't understand the system's intentions, all she could do now was to trust it. "Xiaoyang, drive to the right. Don't worry about anything else. If they dare to block us, run them over." Chapter 1086. Gu Xiaoyang was startled, but he did not question Su Yiyan's words. He turned the steering wheel, stepped on the gas pedal, and rushed in the direction that Su Yiyan had pointed out. The cars on the right side of the intersection also moved. They surrounded them and took the initiative to drive in their direction. Su Yiyan and Gu Xiaoyang's faces changed slightly, but they knew that they had no way out. They could only watch as the cars got closer and closer. When the cars were less than a meter away from them, Su Yiyan's heart was in his throat. However, what happened next was beyond everyone's expectations. The cars did not block Su Yiyan and the others' way. Instead, they brushed past them at the last moment and rushed toward the cars that had been chasing after Su Yiyan and the others. Gu Xiaoyang and Su Yiyan, who had thought that they were doomed, were dumbfounded by what they saw. Is this an ally? Maybe. Rather than an ally, Su Yiyan was more willing to believe that the scene in front of him was a dog-eat-dog situation caused by disagreements among the group of gangsters. Whether it was an ally or an internal conflict, it was not something that Su Yiyan should care about. The most important thing now was to leave this troublesome place and go to a safe place. Gu Xiaoyang obviously knew this. He looked back at the messy cars behind him, stepped on the gas pedal, and rushed forward as fast as he could. After driving for about a kilometer and confirming that there were no cars following behind them, the two were relieved. But at this moment, the system's warning sounded again. Su Yiyan was slightly startled. He looked up subconsciously and his pupils shrank. Be careful. Gu Xiaoyang was startled by Su Yiyan's shout. Then, he saw a black truck suddenly rushing out from the corner. Gu Xiaoyang's face changed slightly, and he subconsciously steered the steering wheel to the side. Unfortunately, the road was only so big. No matter how fast one's reaction was, the space was limited. The truck still hit the driver's seat where Gu Xiaoyang was, and the car lost its balance in an instant. Su Yiyan didn't have time to think. She held the crying child in her arms. Fortunately, after the car was hit and spun around, it hit a railing on the side of the road and stopped. It didn't overturn. However, there was a big hole in the glass of the front of the car and the driver's seat. One could imagine how hard the collision was. Su Yiyan took a while to recover from the child's cries before she raised her head. She shook her dizzy head and checked the child in her arms with a pale face. After making sure that there were no external injuries on the child's body except for crying out of fear, she was relieved and turned to check on Gu Xiaoyang's condition. Because it was a head-on collision and the car lost its balance, Gu Xiaoyang subconsciously drove the car to the side where there was no one. Although the adult and the child in the back seat were affected, their injuries were far less serious than Gu Xiaoyang's in the front seat. Su Yiyan just went over and saw Gu Xiaoyang's miserable state with his eyes closed and his forehead bleeding. Her heart immediately thumped. Xiaoyang? Xiaoyang, wake up. Wake up. Su Yiyan freed one hand to check Gu Xiaoyang's breath and touched his chest. After making sure that his heart was still beating, she looked a little better. But she also knew very well that Gu Xiaoyang was seriously injured. Chapter 1087. Putting aside the internal injuries caused by the collision, the external injuries that were visible to the naked eye could cause him to bleed too much and go into shock or even die if they were not treated as soon as possible. Furthermore, the place they were in now was not safe. The car had begun to smoke after the collision. No one could tell when it would explode, so they had to leave as soon as possible. Su Yiyan's anxious shout did not wake Gu Xiaoyang up from his coma. Instead, it alerted the dangerous people outside who had been eyeing her covetously. A group of black-clothed men with weapons surrounded the car, not allowing any possibility for the people in the car to escape. The deformed car door was pried open with a click. A dazzling light shone in, causing Su Yiyan to squint subconsciously. Then she saw a man walk out from behind the group of men in black. He called her gently and politely, "Miss Su." "You are." Su Yiyan felt that this man was a little familiar, but she could not remember where she had seen him before. "It doesn't matter who I am. What's important is that our boss wants to see Miss Su. He hopes that Miss Su will do him the honor." The man's tone was gentle when he said the first half of his words. Then he changed the topic and his tone became a little colder. "Of course, if Miss Su is unwilling to go with us, we don't mind taking some tough measures given the special circumstances." This was clearly a blatant threat. Su Yiyan pursed her lips. She was a little disgusted by the man's wording and felt that this man's tone was a little familiar. Su Yiyan pondered for a moment. Then an idea flashed through her mind. She quickly remembered who this man's tone was similar to and finally remembered where she had seen this man. When Do Tianyi personally came to the door that day, this man was also there. Su Yiyen's eyes were slightly cold. She said coldly, "Your boss? Do Tianyi?" The man, Li Yu, didn't say yes or no. He just raised his hand and made an inviting gesture. "You'll know when you see our boss." Su Yiyen looked at him, and then looked at the men in black standing outside. "I can let you go, but I have a condition." Li Yu was stunned for a moment, and even the decent but hypocritical smile on her face faded a little. Miss Su doesn't seem to understand the situation she's in. "Do you think you have the right to negotiate with us?" When Su Yiyen heard what he said, she calmed down instead. She chuckled and said, "It's precisely because I know my own situation that I said those words. Do Tianyi asked you to invite me because you want to bring me back alive, right? Tell me, if you bring a dead person back, will you also become a dead person and be buried with me? It's not easy for a person to live, but it's much easier to die." Li Yu's face turned white. She wanted to refute, but she was choked and couldn't say a word for a long time. The two of them confronted each other for a few seconds. In the end, Li Yu was the first to admit defeat. "Miss Su, what conditions do you have? If you want to ask for help or send the child away, I advise you to give up." When Su Yiyen heard him mention the child, her heart trembled. The last bit of luck she had disappeared without a trace. This group of people had chosen to make their move today. Other than knowing their itinerary and making it easier for them to leave her behind, she was afraid that the child was also one of their targets. If she wanted to go around this group of people and send the child to a safe place, it wouldn't be that easy. Chapter 1088. Thinking of this, Su Yiyen's eyes fell on Gu Xiaoyang, who was unconscious in the driver's seat. "Take him to the hospital." "What?" "I want you to take him to the hospital." Su Yiyen stared into Li Yu's eyes and said firmly, "Get someone to take him to the hospital. As long as he's safe, I'll go with you." "Well..." Li Yu hesitated. However, Su Yiyen did not want to drag things out with them anymore. "We don't have much time left. Sir, you should make a decision as soon as possible, whether you agree to my small request or let us all die together." She didn't know when the pursuers would catch up with them, and Gu Xiaoyang's injury couldn't be delayed. The only thing she could do now was to bet that Do Tianyi still needed her. Li Yu's expression suddenly changed. She gritted her teeth and said, "Okay, I promise you." "Young master," Yu Zian looked at the expressionless man not far away. His face was pale, and he was anxious and at a loss. "How is Xiaoyang?" "The doctor said that he avoided the vital organs and his life is not in danger. It's just that he has a severe concussion and lost a lot of blood. He may need to rest for a while to recover." "Got it." As soon as Hua Chenhuan finished speaking, there was a rush of footsteps behind them. Zhuo Yanbai trotted over with a grave expression, holding a document in his hand. Behind him was an equally anxious man. "Uncle?" Hua Chenhuan was surprised to see him. "Why are you here?" "The matter over there has been settled, but a few escaped. I was worried that they would come to trouble you and Yan Yan, so I hurried back. I didn't expect to meet them on the road." As Jing Qianyang spoke, he turned to look at Zhuo Yanbai and motioned for him to tell Hua Chenhuan what had happened. "Young master, from the surveillance cameras near young madam's accident and some witnesses nearby, we learned that you and young madam's car were targeted not long after entering the main road. This group of people followed young madam's car not long after you left. During this period, they did a series of actions such as crashing into the car and forcing it to stop. They even opened fire." Hearing this, the expressions of everyone present changed. Fortunately, the car young madam was in was bulletproof, so she wasn't injured. However, this group of people seemed to have been prepared. They had arranged for many cars to ambush at the various streets. Witnesses said that around 3:00 in the afternoon, Xiaoyang encountered another group of cars while driving to avoid the cars that were chasing them. The two groups of cars clashed, and young madam's car was able to escape. It's only from this point onwards that there are fewer people around, and there aren't any surveillance cameras. Zhuo Yanbai looked at Hu Chenhuan's increasingly ugly expression, paused, and continued. The nurse in charge of the reception said that the person who called them for help was a man. From their description, it shouldn't have been Xiao Yang who called the police himself. As soon as Zhuo Yanbai said this, everyone present couldn't help but look at each other. Since Gu Xiaoyang didn't call the police himself, and it was a man's voice, then this man was most likely one of the people who kidnapped Su Yiyan and the child. When they rushed over, Xiaoyang was placed in a relatively safe place by the side of the road. The wounds on his body had also been treated briefly to stop the bleeding. Otherwise, with Xiao Yang's injuries at that time, I'm afraid he wouldn't have been able to hold on until the ambulance arrived. Chapter 1089. Jing Qianyang frowned and asked, "Did Yan Yan treat his wounds?" "I think so." Zhuo Yanbai didn't think that the people who took Su Yiyan away would be so kind as to treat Gu Xiaoyang's wounds after the car accident. The only possibility was that Su Yiyan had used some unknown method to get those people to help stop Gu Xiaoyang's bleeding before she left, saving his life. Yu Zian's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "Does this mean that for some unknown reason, those people didn't dare to do anything to young madam? They were even threatened by young madam and had no choice but to save Xiaoyang. So young madam and young master are still safe for now?" Zhuo Yanbai frowned, but he wasn't as optimistic as Yu Zian. "Not necessarily. Maybe they did it before young madam was taken away, and they didn't notice. It's such a broken car and such a big person. The people who took Yan Yan and the child away aren't blind. How could they not see it? If it were you, would you let the kidnapper live for no reason and then identify yourself? Yan Yan must have done something to save his life. Yan Yan and the child must be fine now." A slightly abrupt voice suddenly came from behind them. Although the tone of the voice was stern, it couldn't hide the worry and anxiety in it. They didn't know if the words were meant for them or for themselves. Hu Chenhuan looked at the person and called out in a low voice, "Brother." Hu Chenhuan didn't dare to tell the two elders about Su Yiyan because she was afraid that they would be agitated. She only told Su Yuxuan. Su Yuxuan snorted coldly and didn't look at him kindly. Two big people disappeared just like that. Is this how you protect them? Hu Chenhuan didn't speak with a sullen face. Jing Qianyang couldn't bear to see his nephew being criticized at this time. He sighed and acted as a peacemaker. "We'll talk about this later. The most important thing now is to find them as soon as possible. I've already sent people to catch the two groups of people who had a conflict with Yan Yan before Yan Yan disappeared. These two groups of people chased after Yan Yan and the child before they disappeared. Even if they didn't take Yan Yan away, they still have something to do with this." Coincidentally, as soon as Jing Qianyang finished speaking, the people he sent out called him. Jing Qianyang picked up the phone and his eyes lit up. He looked up at the anxious people present and said excitedly, "They're caught. They're caught." Hu Chenhuan and the others were like ants on a hot pan. They were so anxious that they wanted to find her as soon as possible. The person they were worried about was being brought to a small, remote villa by Liu. This small villa looked a bit old and shabby from the outside. Vines entangled with moss clung to a large area of the outer wall. There were also a lot of weeds growing outside the courtyard. From afar, one would think that this was a run-down house that no one lived in and didn't regularly repair. But after entering the house, one would find that most of the things in the house were in good condition. There was basically no dust or stains to be seen. It wasn't clear if someone had lived here before and cleaned it regularly, or if it was specially cleaned because someone was coming. Liu put Su Yiyan and her child in the living room and asked someone to watch over them. Then, she went to the backyard. Not long after, Su Yiyan heard the familiar sound of a wheelchair being pushed. Su Yiyan frowned slightly. She shifted her gaze from the sleeping child in her arms to the source of the sound. But when she saw Dou Tianyi and the familiar figure behind him, her eyes widened in surprise. Chapter 1090. Dou Tianyi had changed a lot since the last time they met. His face, which was already pale, was now devoid of color. He didn't look like a human, but more like a fake white sculpture in an exhibition hall. His cheeks, which were already thin to begin with, were now sunken in. He looked like a skeleton with human skin stuck on it. It was inexplicably horrifying. However, what surprised Su Yiyan the most was not this, but the person behind Dou Tianyi. This was the first time Su Yiyan saw Wen Jingping after more than a year. Before this, she had only seen this person's figure in the mouths of others or in those strange peach news. Compared to the last time they met, Wen Jingping was much more haggard, and her spirit seemed to be a little absent-minded. When she wheeled Dou Tianyi over from afar, her eyes were blank, and she looked like a soulless puppet. However, when she saw Su Yiyan, she was stunned. Her originally lifeless eyes suddenly changed, and her face twisted for a moment. Su Yiyan saw the change in her expression. Her eyes were slightly cold, and her heart trembled. When did these two fellows get together again? Before this, the person who was sent to keep an eye on Wen Jingping had just returned with news that Ding Juesi had gone to look for Wen Jingping and tried to force himself on her. What's done can't be undone, and the two of them had fallen out on the spot. How long had it been? Wen Jingping actually got together with Dou Tianyi again. Moreover, wasn't Dou Tianyi hospitalized because of his illness? How come now? Could it be that after doing so much, she still couldn't stop the two of them from going down the same path? Nothing had changed. No matter how many things happened in between, the world's female lead would eventually be together with the world's male lead, and those unimportant cannon fodder and supporting roles would eventually become stepping stones on their path to success. They would never be able to escape the fate of the past. When she thought of this, Su Yiyan felt the blood in her body freeze. It was so cold that she wanted to shiver on the spot. System, what's going on? How did the two of them get together again? Wasn't Dou Tianyi's condition deteriorating to the point that he was on the verge of death? How did he get out of the hospital? Also, I haven't settled the score with you just now. I was just giving you directions, but you still pointed me to the male and female leads. If it weren't for the fact that you've really helped me a lot in the past 2 years, I would have suspected that you're a spy arranged by the world's consciousness. After being scolded by Su Yiyan, the system was silent for a long time before it replied in a slightly aggrieved manner. The system is not a spy. The reason why it pointed the way here is because at that time, if you really had to choose between the two teams, choose the world's male protagonist side, the host and the baby might still have a chance to survive. Su Yiyan's heart trembled. He thought of the group of people who were constantly shooting at them from behind. He had to admit that the system's words were not without reason. Based on their situation at that time, if they had bumped into Dou Tianyi's men, they still had a chance to survive. If they had really been surrounded by the group behind them, she and her child would have been dead by now. As for why the world's male lead was able to get out of the hospital when he was seriously ill? From the results of the scan, the world's male lead's body does have traces of the system's item being used. Su Yiyan was stunned for a few seconds before she reacted to the meaning of the system's words. Her expression changed. You mean, the reason why his condition improved was because Wen Jingping used the system's item on him? Wen Jingping's body really has a system. Chapter 1091. Based on the data from the scan, that seems to be the case. Su Yiyan's eyes narrowed dangerously. Did it discover you? I don't think so. Su Yiyan raised an eyebrow. I don't think so. The tools that Wen Jingping used on Dou Tianyi are low-level tools in all aspects. The traces are more obvious. Su Yiyan narrowed her eyes. So, you're just guessing. You're not sure if there's another system on her? Yes. What about it? Can it sense your presence? Don't worry about that. The system has its own high-end shielding function. As long as the host doesn't activate the permissions, Wen Jingping's system will definitely not discover the existence of the system. When 001 talked about this, he was a little proud of himself, just like a little kid who was asking for praise from his parents. Su Yiyan wasn't as optimistic as 001. She immediately grasped the main point of this topic. In other words, you can't do anything to it, and it can't do anything to you. Theoretically speaking, that's right. However, the system on the female lead should be an advanced system. The female lead's protagonist aura has already been snatched away by the host. The system on the female lead can't be upgraded. Relatively speaking, it's definitely weaker than the current system. Weaker than you? Su Yiyan raised the corners of her eyes. She looked at Wen Jingping with a hint of playfulness. Wen Jingping instinctively felt a chill run down her spine. Since it's weaker than you, then do you have the confidence to swallow it? System. Was it really that cruel? Although it was shocked, the system seriously considered Su Yiyan's suggestion. Theoretically speaking, it's possible, but you don't have enough points. If you want to swallow a system with similar characteristics as yourself, you'll need a lot of favorability points. Currently, you're about 1/3 away. 1/3? Su Yiyan was shocked. Ever since Wu Chenhuan had completely recovered, the favorability points she earned from her live streams were mostly used to unlock skills and exchange for new medicinal herb seeds. She didn't spend much of it. She had accumulated almost 100 million points by now, but now she was told that she only had 2/3 of the points. She was still short of 1/3? In such a short period of time, how was she going to gather so many favorable impression points for it? Although he was complaining, Su Yiyan still seriously thought about how to solve this problem. You said that the communication signal in this place is blocked. Even if there is a communication device, the signal can't be sent out. What about the network signal? Can you connect to the internet? Generally speaking, since communication signals were blocked, there was a high chance that the network signal would be blocked as well. However, there was a special situation where there was no communication signal and no phone calls could be made, but there was still access to the internet. Su Yiyan wasn't sure if Do Tianyi's people would be so careless as to not take this into consideration. But as long as there was a tiny bit of hope, she wanted to take a gamble. Unexpectedly, the system didn't reply after a long period of silence like before. Instead, it replied almost instantly. Yes. Su Yiyan's eyes lit up slightly. Then can you connect a virtual camera to my live stream account and help me open the live stream room? Su Yiyan's phone had slipped off when she was escaping from the men in black. She didn't know where it had slipped to. Moreover, Do Tianyi had blocked the signal, so it was impossible for her to bring it in. Chapter 1092. At this point, she could only hope that the system would be a little more helpful. Host, are you going to start a live broadcast? Yes. Looking at the situation now. Host, are you not worried about exposing your identity? Su Yiyan subconsciously glanced at the two people who were about to reach her, and the emotions in her eyes were a little cold. It's not about whether I'm worried about exposing my identity. Even if I don't want to, there are people who want to force me to reveal my identity. Since that's the case, I might as well do it myself. At least I can take the initiative in my own hands. Understood. Connecting to the host's live broadcast room, please wait. When the system tried to connect to Su Yiyan's live broadcast room, Wen Jingping pushed Do Tianyi in front of her. Miss Su, long time no see. Do Tianyi's voice was very soft, but there was an inexplicable coldness in it that made people uncomfortable. Su Yiyan opened her mouth and was about to speak when she heard the system's angelic voice in her mind. Host's live broadcast room has been activated. Please take note. Host's live broadcast room has been activated. Please take note. Su Yiyan's eyes flashed, and the words that were about to come out of her mouth immediately changed. If it's possible, I really don't want to see Mr. Do. After all, I have to risk my life just to see him. Fortunately, no one died this time, but I can't say for sure the next time. The audience in Su Yiyan's live broadcast room had just entered the room when they heard this, and they were all a little confused. The host is starting a live broadcast? Another surprise attack? Fortunately, I'm quick-witted and waited 24 hours a day. Ha ha ha. But, is this the host's home? Why doesn't it look like a kitchen? It's obvious that it's not a kitchen. This should be the living room. The decor looks very high-end. Sure enough, no matter how the background changes, the host's image of a rich second-generation heir is still the same. Are all of you only focused on the decor of the background? Did no one notice that the faces of the people in the live broadcast room are all exposed? As soon as this comment floated by, a short blank space suddenly appeared in the comments that were floating by in the live stream. Exposed? That's right, it was time to show his face. One had to know that Su Yiyen had streamed so many times, but he had never let anyone show their faces in his stream. Even the helpers and friends who had mistakenly entered the live broadcast room had their faces censored. Over time, everyone had gotten used to Su Yiyen's rule of not showing her face. He had thought that he would never be able to see the streamer's face in this lifetime. Who would have thought that the streamer's face would not be covered during today's live broadcast? After a short period of silence, the bullet screen in the live broadcast room began to explode. Is this the host? Streamer? Where is the streamer? Which of these two women is the host? Why do I feel that the two women in the live broadcast room look so familiar? Could it be that the host's account was hacked? Hacked account? It can't be. Is the firewall of onlookers so weak? So, is the host here or not? Let's wait here for a while. I feel like there's something wrong with the atmosphere here. Something is wrong +1. Do Tianyi and the others had no idea that their every move had long been clearly captured by an invisible camera. There was nowhere to hide. Su Yiyen was not worried that they would find out. Although the system would occasionally screw up, it was still quite reliable at critical moments. Long before he connected her to the live broadcast room, he had already blocked the signal on the internet. The things that were originally used to guard against her had now backfired on him. Who knew how Do Tianyi would feel if he found out? Chapter 1093. Do Tianyi could hear the sarcasm in Su Yiyen's words, but he didn't show any guilt or embarrassment on his face. To be precise, the angrier Su Yiyen was, the happier he was. If I could, I wouldn't want to meet Miss Su under such circumstances. It's clear that Miss Su is in a difficult situation. Miss Su also saw my physical condition. In order to survive, I had no choice but to invite Miss Su over in a rude way. Su Yiyen sneered. It turns out that a group of people chased my car for half an hour. During that time, they shot at my car countless times. After that, they violently hit my car, causing it to be scrapped. The driver in the car was seriously injured and unconscious. They ignored my wishes and forcibly brought me here. In Mr. Do's eyes, all of this can only be considered rude. It's really an eye-opener for me. Not long ago, the audience had been noisily discussing the identities of Su Yiyen and the others, as well as whether the host was in the live broadcast room. When they heard this, they were all shocked. Chasing the car? Shooting? Seriously injured and unconscious? Forcibly bringing her here? Wasn't this kidnapping? Thinking of this, many of the audience gasped at the same time through their screens. At this moment, some of the audience also recognized Su Yiyen and Wen Jingping. Isn't the one on the left the previously popular entertainment company boss, President Su? The one on the right seems to be the mistress. Yes, I recognize her too. The woman on the right just acted in a drama not long ago. It was that lousy drama on Strawberry TV. It was axed before it finished airing and had a rushed ending. Now that you mention it, it seems to be true. It's really her. This person is too spoiled. Not only did she steal her fiancé, but she also seduced that Ding Ju-Si's married husband not long ago. He divorced and abandoned his wife and child. See XXX for details of the skinning post. F***CK, this person was actually a food host. Don't tell me, upstairs, stop thinking. Don't confuse this kind of spoiled brat with a streamer, okay? This person used to be a live streamer on Eater. Later, when she entered the entertainment industry, she was too arrogant. She courted death and caused trouble with the platform too much. The platform terminated her contract and directly blocked her live stream. However, you should still be able to find the footage of the previous screen recording. You can go and take a look. With her cooking skills, she's not even worthy of carrying shoes for our streamer. Don't try to scam her. Whether it was the kidnapping or the identities of the two people, they were all hot topics that could cause heated discussions. Therefore, even though they didn't get to watch the live stream that they had been longing for, the audience's discussion about this live stream continued to rise. Soon, it attracted the attention of many people. Hua Chenhuan was busy discussing with Xing Qianyang how to identify the kidnapper and rescue Su Yiyan and her son. She should not have had time to pay attention to the outside world. However, ever since Su Yiyan's second live stream, he had set up an automatic reminder for Su Yiyan's live stream. Not long after Su Yiyan's live stream started, the familiar reminder sounded in time and attracted her attention. Hua Chenhuan didn't have time to think too much. He hurriedly opened the live stream and saw the person he had been longing for sitting in a slightly old villa hall. Opposite him were two people he couldn't be more familiar with. Chenhuan, what's wrong? Xing Qianyang, who had been rushing out in a hurry, found that Hua Chenhuan had suddenly stopped and lagged behind. He turned to look at him in confusion. Hua Chenhuan looked away from the live stream with an extremely ugly expression. Yan Yan and the child have been found. Chapter 1094. When Hua Chenhuan found out about the whereabouts of Su Yiyan and her child, she couldn't wait to rush to where they were and bring them back safely. At the same time, Su Yiyan was also trying her best to buy time for Hua Chenhuan and the others to rescue them. When Dou Tianyi heard Su Yiyan's ridicule, the curve of his lips rose instead of falling. He only felt that Su Yiyan was now like a kitten trapped in a cage, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. If I really wanted to hurt Miss Su, I'm afraid that Miss Su wouldn't be sitting here peacefully, enjoying the meticulous care of the people around her. Enjoying? You call this enjoying? Su Yiyan almost picked up the cup on the table and threw it at someone's face. But, Su Yiyan's eyes were slightly cold. Dou Tianyi didn't deny what she had just said, which meant that she had guessed correctly. The group of people who had helped them stop the trucks were Dou Tianyi's men, and they were supposed to be in cahoots with them. However, those people wanted to kill her, while Dou Tianyi wanted her alive, so both sides had fallen out. Since we're all here, I don't want to say any more nonsense. Mr. Dou, just say it. Why did you spend so much effort to bring me here? Dou Tianyi raised his eyebrows. I thought that Miss Su should know very well why she's here. Su Yiyan seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. You let people bring me here, but you want me to wonder why I was brought here? You're saying it as if I deserve to be brought here because I did something. Don't you think it's funny? As soon as Su Yiyan said this, before Dou Tianyi could say anything, Wen Jingping, who was following behind him, could not help but widen her eyes. She looked at Su Yiyan in shock and fear, clearly not expecting Su Yiyan to dare speak to Dou Tianyi in such a manner. Moreover, what made her the most depressed was that Dou Tianyi did not have much of a reaction after hearing her words. He did not get angry, nor did he retaliate. Instead, he seemed a little excited. Wen Jingping, who had already experienced Dou Tianyi's prowess, had no doubt that if those words had come out of her mouth, she would not even be able to find her corpse. Such an obvious difference in treatment made Wen Jingping feel an indescribable discomfort in her heart. At the same time, a trace of doubt appeared in her heart. Could it be that her strategy had been wrong from the beginning? Dou Tianyi did not like her, who was weak and could arouse a man's desire to protect her, but liked this kind of woman who specialized in going against him. Su Yiyan did not know that the words she had deliberately said to disgust Dou Tianyi in her anger had caused Wen Jingping to think deeply. She was really about to explode from anger now. She could not understand why there would be people in this world who were so self-righteous and full of a sense of superiority. It was fine if they spoke to others in a high and mighty tone, but when they caused trouble or even harm to others, they would act as if they were doing them a favor, thinking that the other party should be deeply grateful to them. Dou Tianyi was like that, and Hu Xiaofeng was also like that. Before, Su Yiyan only felt that the brainless world's female leads were poisonous. Now, it seemed that these world's male leads were not to be outdone. It was really like a pot that matched a lid, a perfect match. At that time, thousands of miles away, Hu Xiaofeng, who had long been worn down by various circumstances and was living a poor life with a meager salary, suddenly felt an itch in his nose. He could not help but sneeze loudly, and a trace of an ominous premonition suddenly appeared in his heart. He was already so miserable, why was there still someone thinking about him? Chapter 1095. Dou Tianyi opened his mouth, but before he could speak, he suddenly coughed violently. Wen Jingping was shocked. She hurriedly stepped forward and wanted to reach out to pat his back to calm him down, but Li Yu, who had reacted first, beat her to it. Dou Tianyi coughed like this for about a minute. When he stopped, he looked as if he had just gone through a big battle. He slumped in the wheelchair dispiritedly. His originally pale face was stained with some blood because of the violent coughing. He looked miserable and terrible. Wen Jingping was a step ahead. She was stunned for a while before she thought of going up to Dou Tianyi to express her concern. However, Dou Tianyi, who had already recovered, pushed her away. "Miss Su, you can see that my condition has deteriorated to a very serious point. I had no choice but to use this method to bring you here. I hope that in the future, Miss Su can cooperate with the family's private doctor to treat me and relieve my pain." Dou Tianyi looked at her deeply and smiled faintly. "I know what you are thinking. Your grandfather has connections with the Research Institute, and Hu Qinhuan's uncle has connections with the Special Operations Organization. You and your child are missing. They will definitely do whatever it takes to find you. If you are in the country, I can't guarantee that they won't find you. But what if you are abroad?" Su Yiyan's expression changed slightly. Dou Tianyi saw the change in her expression. He turned to look at the clock not far away. There are still 40 minutes. Sometime in the future? Su Yiyan frowned, and her heart thumped. "You want to imprison me? Haven't you thought that if someone finds out? No one will find out." "What? You can't, nothing is impossible." As early as the moment Su Yiyan stepped into the villa with the child, a large number of people were dispatched according to the plan. 40 minutes? What 40 minutes? I will take you abroad in another 40 minutes. Su Yiyan's eyes narrowed. The ominous premonition in his heart was finally confirmed. When Wen Jingping suddenly heard that Dou Tianyi was going to take Su Yiyan abroad, she was stunned for a while. When she came to her senses, her expression changed greatly. She said anxiously, "If you are going abroad, then what should I do?" Before she could finish her sentence, Dou Tianyi's cold gaze swept over her, causing her to swallow the rest of her words. At the same time, Wen Jingping felt a chill run down her spine and spread to her limbs and bones. These people would disguise themselves as Su Yiyan and set off from different places at different times to confuse the people who came to find Su Yiyan. The meaning of these people's existence was to stall for time. By the time Hu Qinhuan and the others realized that something was wrong, he would have already taken Su Yiyan and flown far away. Even if they wanted to find her, they wouldn't know where to find her in such a short time. Dou Tianyi thought that his plan was flawless, but he would never have thought that everything he had painstakingly planned would be completely destroyed by an invisible camera. She knew very well that she was going to be abandoned by Dou Tianyi. But, why? She was clearly the winner in life with the female lead script. According to the original trajectory of the world, she and Dou Tianyi were destined to be together. She was clearly the only one who could alleviate his illness and keep his life. Why would this man rather choose a married woman who had given birth than her? This woman, what right did she have? Chapter 1096. Su Yiyan didn't notice the sudden change in Wen Jingping's venomous gaze. She also didn't know the twists and turns of resentment and unwillingness in Wen Jingping's heart. She looked at Do Tiany's confident appearance as if everything was under his control. She subconsciously tightened her hands and tried to remain calm. Where do you want to take me? Do Tiany glanced at her and held back. You'll know when we get there. Su Yiyan chuckled. Do you really think that as long as you take me out of the country and put me under house arrest, everything will be foolproof? Do Tiany's expression changed a little because of Su Yiyan's words. Let's not talk about the fact that the herbs I use to make the medicinal cuisine can only be obtained through specific channels, or that they can only be found in the country. Even if you can really take me out of the country without my family and a large number of search and rescue police officers, even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. Without the herbs, even if I want to, I can't do anything. Su Yiyan saw Do Tiany's expression change little by little, and there was a little more satisfaction in her eyes. Let's take a step back and say that even if you can secretly transport these things from the country to the country and continue to supply them, what gives me the confidence to do so? Why do you think that I will selflessly rescue the culprit who kidnapped me and almost killed me and my family and friends? Su Yiyan stared at Do Tiany when she said this. Her eyes were unprecedentedly cold. Aren't you afraid that if you push me too far, I will poison your food and end your short and painful life ahead of time? Do Tiany's expression changed again when he heard her say this. Miss Su seems to have not figured out her situation. This is not up to you. Oh. Is that so? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows, and the mockery in her eyes grew. What if I refuse? Are you going to kill me? Of course not. Miss Su is my honored guest. How could I bear to hurt you? Su Yiyan stared at him for a while and chuckled. Yes, you can't bear to hurt me, but you will hurt my family and the people around me. As Su Yiyan spoke, she patted the little fellow who was sleeping soundly in her arms to comfort him. Her eyes were full of heartache. The little girl was still so young. She had only accompanied her parents to celebrate her grandmother's birthday, yet she had encountered such a thing. Just because I refused to recuperate for you, you found someone to secretly instigate Qing Fenglang and Song Yinyuan to work together to bribe the employees of my uncle's company. You forged fake evidence, slandered my uncle and my grandfather for academic fraud, and suppressed the newcomers under them to receive kickbacks. It's a pity that my grandfather has been dutifully and conscientiously doing research for most of his life. Now that he's old, he's almost been splashed with a basin of dirty water for no reason because of some people's evil intentions. That's not all. I've underestimated some people's madness before. They would even harm a child. When Su Yiyan said this, she looked up at Do Tiany with disgust and hatred in her eyes. You got someone to hint to Hua Qihan that as long as he caught my child, he could use the child to threaten me and Chenhuan to hand over the Hua Corporation. After that, you helped him bribe the servants in my house to help him take the child out and hand him over to Hua Qihan. It would be best if he succeeded. If he failed, it would be Hua Qihan who did it, and it would have nothing to do with you. You were the one who planned all this, and you were also the one who added fuel to the fire behind the scenes. In the end, Hua Qihan and Qing Fenglang were the ones who took the blame, while you were innocent and unharmed. Mr. Do is really calculating. Chapter 1097. Su Yiyan only found out about this recently. Hua Chenhuan only told her that the Qing family's matter was related to Do Tiany, but she didn't tell her that Do Tiany was actually involved in Hua Qihan's kidnapping. Unfortunately, the truth couldn't be hidden forever. Su Yiyan still learned the truth from Yu Ziyan. Su Yiyan was, of course, furious. If Do Tiany hadn't been in the hospital and didn't have much time left, she would have killed this bastard long ago. She didn't mention it on impulse, but she knew that everything they were doing and saying now was under surveillance. There was nowhere to hide. The two things that Su Yiyan mentioned were done very secretly by Do Tiany. Although Yu Ziyan and the others found clues, they didn't have enough evidence to prove that Do Tiany was involved and played a key role. There was no doubt that he was guilty. There were some things that one knew that the culprit was right in front of one's eyes, but because there were no clear witnesses or evidence, one could only watch him get away with it. There was nothing one could do. However, if the person involved could admit it personally, or if he accidentally let it slip under her provocation, then things would be different. And things were indeed as Su Yiyan expected. When Do Tianyi heard her mention these things, he looked a little surprised. However, perhaps because he was in his own territory, he relaxed a little and felt that Su Yiyan was now a turtle in a jar. Everything she did was just a last-ditch effort. It seems that Miss Su already knows. Do Tianyi glanced at Su Yiyan. Yes, I asked someone to do it. I asked someone to secretly tamper with your grandfather's house and your child's matter. However, you can't blame me for this. Miss Su, I told you a long time ago that I don't like being rejected. Especially when my life is at stake. Miss Su, I'm not even 30 years old yet. For many people, at this age, life is just about to begin. All their dreams are just about to be realized. Countless beautiful possibilities are waiting for them, but my life has already come to an end. I don't want to die, and I'm not willing to die like this. I just want to live. Do Tianyi said it pitifully, but Su Yiyan only felt sick of it. There was nothing wrong with a person wanting to live. It could even be said that wanting to live was a human's instinct. However, in order to live himself, he wantonly harmed others and even implicated innocent people to force her to submit. His actions, coupled with what he said now, was absurd, sick, selfish, and hypocritical. However, some people were moved by his words. They started sympathizing with him. After watching this for a long time, the host is, President Su is the host. The man sitting opposite the host was seriously ill and wanted the host to help treat him. The host refused due to various considerations, and in the end, she suffered from this person's revenge. The host's grandfather was originally a senior in the research institute. He was a person of virtue and prestige. In the end, he was smeared with fake evidence and almost lost his integrity because of a groundless accusation. The host's child was almost stolen. Oh my God, what kind of devil is this? I can't afford to offend him. Hee, what she says is the truth. Aren't you fans too brainless? Upstairs, I'm afraid you have late-stage cerebral palsy. Didn't you hear the host admit that he did all these bad things? How did it become the host's fault? This host's fans are of such quality. They just casually scold people. As expected, fans follow the host. I vomit. Chapter 1098. You have cerebral palsy, yet you don't allow others to refute you. Weren't you the one who scolded others for being brainless first? Are you blind or have intermittent amnesia? Do you really think the broadcast room is your home and the whole world is your mother? Don't you know that the one who provokes first is cheap? Before saying that others have no quality, please take a look at yourself first. What the hell are you? I'm dying of laughter. If you're uncultured, go and read more books. If you don't know the cause and effect, you're brainless. I'm quite curious about how big your brain capacity is. Some brainless haters who doubt the streamer's words just now, since they have doubts, go and find evidence. According to the streamer's words, I found a few news reports about the streamer's family not long ago. For details, please search the discussion area next door. Previously, when the Qing family was in trouble, Qing Fenglang and Song Yinyuan were worried that old Master Qing was highly respected and that the investigation department would be biased. There was no way to knock down the Qing family in one fell swoop, so they bought a lot of articles to guide public opinion. They promoted a piece of social news into a piece of explosive news and stayed on the hot topic discussion list for several days. Later, the truth of the matter was found out, and Qing Fenglang and Song Yinyuan were also arrested. Those marketing accounts that were bribed either deleted their posts or apologized, but there were still many righteous netizens who took screenshots and kept them. However, when the truth was revealed, because there were no paid posters, the popularity was far less than when it was attacked. Therefore, it didn't cause much of a splash. This was also the sorrow of the era of traffic. 3 people became a tiger. When the scolding came out, they swarmed forward, but when the truth came out, they ran faster than anyone else. Passers-by who didn't know the truth only saw the beginning and didn't understand the truth that came out in the end. They often left their impression at the beginning and thought that was the truth. Now that Su Yiyan brought up the old matter again, there were really people who ran to find out the whole story again. They even sorted it out so that more people would know the truth of the matter. It could be considered a blessing in disguise. Didn't someone say that the streamer might be a descendant of a hidden family? Now it seems that there are some differences from expectations, but the streamer's maternal grandparents are actually seniors in the research institute. Rounded up, they can be considered a scholarly family, right? No wonder the streamer handed these precious Chinese herbs to the research institute for research and cultivation as soon as she found them. It turns out that there's such a relationship. I'm so angry after reading the report. After searching, the host's grandparents developed many practical things when they were at the research institute. Many of these things were still in use and had saved many people. The host even gave those precious Chinese medicinal herbs to the research institute for research and planting free of charge, instead of selling them to the rich at a high price. Not to mention, he selflessly shared many medicinal cuisines that no one has ever heard of through live streaming. His stores are basically sold at a fair price. In the end, because he rejected the unreasonable request of a sick person, his elder, who was originally a virtuous cultivator, was almost slandered and had to bear a groundless name. Now, she was being kidnapped along with her child. Just thinking about it made her feel suffocated. Oh my God, did someone call the police? This man is so crazy, who knows what he'll do to the streamer and the baby. I reported it a long time ago. They said that they're already looking for him. However, the man just now seemed to say that he wanted to take the streamer out of the country. I'm a little worried that I might not be able to save the streamer in time. After the audience in Su Yiyan's live broadcast room found out about Dou Tiany's actions, they began to worry about the safety of Su Yiyan and her child. Chapter 1099. As for the matter of Hua Qihan stealing the child that Su Yiyan mentioned, this matter had always been kept a secret from the public because they needed to use Hua Qihan to find the culprits who killed Hua Qinhuan's parents. However, based on the current situation, this group of people had clearly found a new partner and were desperate enough to make a move on her and the child. Hua Qihan's side had probably come to an end and there was no need to continue hiding it. Su Yiyan's fans had not previously associated the streamer with the entertainment company's CEO, who had once caused a stir on the internet. Naturally, they did not pay much attention to Su Yiyan's family Hua. Now that he knew about it, he could turn those old memories upside down in a matter of minutes. How blind was the scumbag? He did not want their beautiful, gentle, virtuous, and culinary treasure like their streamer. Why did he have to pick up garbage in the green tea bucket? What? After the streamer tore apart the scumbag's mistress, she married the scumbag's uncle and became his aunt? Well done. What? The streamer from the gourmet section, who was now standing behind the kidnapper, was their streamer's love rival. To be precise, the original wife and the mistress? Hua Qihan did not have much to do with Su Yiyan in the outside world, but the title of the scumbag's father was enough to make people put on a biased view of this person. In the eyes of many people, the change of the head of the Hua Corporation was a secret of the rich and powerful, and brothers fighting for power. The scumbag's uncle was young, handsome, and loved the streamer very much. It was just that he had an accident before and his legs were disabled. However, he suddenly recovered not long after he married the streamer. It must be the streamer's credit. The audience broke out in a cold sweat for Su Yiyan while eating a big mouthful of melon with great interest. As a mother, I really can't stand such a thing. If someone dares to steal my child, I will definitely go crazy. I will risk my life to get my child back, even if I have to perish together with the other party. Don't say that this is some kind of family infighting. This is kidnapping and child stealing. Fortunately, they didn't succeed. Otherwise, they might have killed the hostage or thrown the child into some corner, making it impossible for the child to see his parents for the rest of his life. What's the difference between this and those human traffickers who steal children? If it was just this, there was nothing much to say about the winner and the loser. However, it was different when it involved stealing children. When the host was pregnant, she would occasionally broadcast live for us. It can be said that we watched the baby grow up bit by bit. This man actually encouraged others to steal the host's child just because the host refused to treat him. He's simply insane. Once the number of people increased, it naturally became a mix of good and bad. The die-hard viewers in Su Yiyen's live broadcast room all felt that Su Yiyen was right. They only criticized Dou Tianyi and Hua Qihan in the live broadcast room. Su Yiyen's live broadcast room was very popular, but it also attracted a lot of envy. Coupled with the unique nature of her live broadcast, it didn't take long for her to attract a lot of viewers. In addition to Su Yiyen's loyal viewers, the number of viewers in Su Yiyen's live stream had already exceeded 8 digits. Especially those mothers with children. They put themselves in Su Yiyen's shoes and were all furious. However, there were also some who had a particularly strange way of thinking. After listening to Dou Tianyi's pitiful story, they put the blame on Su Yiyen's head. It takes 2 hands to clap. She could have helped, but she didn't. Hee, this woman is really ruthless. I can tell that she's not a good person. She deserves to be retaliated against. Chapter 1100. Such disgusting remarks were inconceivable to many people, but there were some who were willing to go along with it. That's right. Isn't a female streamer just flirting and seducing men? Good women are all at home taking care of their husbands and children. Where would they have the time to do such fancy things? If you ask me, this woman is simply playing hard to get. She's already married, yet she still goes around seducing men. Who knows how many green hats she has on her husband's head? Now, she's just capsized. Serves her right. Why is this woman opening a medicinal cuisine live stream? Isn't it to treat illnesses and save people? Now that people have taken the initiative to come to her door, she's making all sorts of excuses. Why is she pretending to be virtuous? She's really deserving of it. Oh my God, there's actually a saint speaking up for this man. What kind of disgusting maggot is this? Ladies, wipe your eyes and look at these people clearly. Don't be fooled by these scumbags. Once this kind of extreme loser with double standards takes a fancy to you and you're unwilling to break up with him, he might go and spread rumors that you're seducing men and that you're promiscuous. He might even stab you with a knife. Don't find friends in the trash. There's actually someone who's willing to take action against a child. Some people's worldview is really a little touching. In this regard, I only want to say that human traffickers should all die. I suddenly remembered that in ancient records, there was a particularly famous doctor, that is, a doctor in ancient times, who treated a noble. Just because the treatment method he proposed was not to the noble's liking, he was cruelly killed. Previously, I thought it was ridiculous and that the ancients were ignorant. I didn't expect to see a real-life version one day. This can already be considered a medical disturbance, right? Such remarks suddenly increased. The audience, who were originally worried about the safety of Su Yiyen and her son, became extremely irritable. It's because of idiots like you that the streamer has always chosen to hide her identity. One slap doesn't make a sound. If you have the ability, stretch your face out. I guarantee you'll hear a sound. I hate this kind of victim theory the most. One slap doesn't make a sound. If I slap you, you might die. Upstairs, if you think this live stream is a publicity stunt, then eat more nutritious food to nourish your brain. Who would use their own lives and the safety of their children for publicity purposes? Moreover, it was in such a public live broadcast. Not to mention other things, just guiding fans to report false information to the police was enough for her to go in. In the end, you've been hyping it up for so long just to go in and squat. Do you really think everyone is as brainless as you? After the viewers in the live streaming room were briefly surprised by Su Yiyen's identity, they were all attracted by her and her child's current situation. Now, they were fighting with all kinds of demons and monsters in the live streaming room. You said what I wanted to say but didn't dare to say. Someone's fans are like lunatics, attacking people and not allowing any different voices to appear. In my opinion, we should report this platform and ban this live stream forever. Other than such comments, there were also some people who felt that the live stream was a publicity stunt. Trash hype dog. It's fine if you bought all kinds of marketing to hype up your store and fake medicine. Now, you're actually doing this kind of kidnapping, holding, and strangling live broadcast to show your pitiful side. You must be crazy for money. The bullet screen was very chaotic and lively. Su Yiyan did not know about this, but the system's continuous increase in favorability gave her some comfort. It made her certain that it was a wise decision to start a live broadcast at this time. Chapter 1101. Su Yiyan calmed down and raised her head to look at Do Tianyi. She said solemnly, "I've already said that I can't help you. Your doctor should have already told you that your illness is incurable. At the very least, the current medical drugs are unable to achieve the effect of curing your illness. I'm just a normal person. I'm not even a doctor. I'm really not as good as you think." Do Tianyi didn't argue with Su Yiyan on this topic. He only said hoarsely, "Even if it can't be cured, I want to live a little longer, then you should go to the research institute for help. Whether it's medicinal herbs or medicinal materials, I've already handed them over to the research institute to plant and promote. I'm just a dabbler in treating illnesses and saving people. The reason why I took these things out is because I don't want a bright pearl to be covered in dust. The research institute has pharmacologists and doctors who specialize in medicinal herbs. With decades of knowledge in these things, which one of them isn't better than me? Why do you have to be so stubborn to pester a layman like me?" Do Tianyi stared at Su Yiyan faintly. Miss Su's medical knowledge may not be as good as theirs, but your understanding of these things is more detailed than anyone else. So Miss Su doesn't need to feel any psychological pressure in this aspect. Other than Miss Su, I have a complete medical team by my side. They will choose the most suitable medical treatment according to Miss Su's prescription and my own physical condition. Do Tianyi's words were actually telling Su Yiyan that since she was caught by him, she should be more obedient. She shouldn't think of playing any tricks on his illness. Since he caught her, he definitely wasn't unprepared. Do Tianyi might not have medical knowledge and would be fooled by her, but the entire medical team by his side wasn't to be trifled with. As for what Miss Su mentioned just now, are you afraid that you'll put poison in the medicine? I really can't bear to touch Miss Su, but I don't have the same patience for anyone other than Miss Su. Do Tianyi glanced meaningfully at the little guy in Su Yiyan's arms. He said with a faint smile, "Some people, since you've already touched them once, it's no big deal to touch them again." Su Yiyan's body stiffened. She angrily shouted, "You dare!" At this point, "Miss Su, what do you think I don't dare to do? Or does Miss Su think that it's really just a coincidence that I deliberately chose today?" Su Yiyan pursed her lips. She already had a guess in her heart. If she was alone, Do Tianyi didn't want to die. But it was different with the child. No matter what she did, Su Yiyan had to consider the safety of her child, and it was inevitable that she would be constrained. System, how's collecting the favorability points? Is it enough for a big move? Su Yiyan knew that once the live broadcast was released, Hu Chenhuan would definitely make a move. However, the situation outside wasn't clear. She hoped that Hu Chenhuan would come quickly to save them, but she also had to save herself. Almost there, almost there. Su Yiyan's expression was a little ugly. The atmosphere between the two of them also became heavy and oppressive because of the lack of agreement. Just then, the sound of hurried and messy footsteps suddenly came from outside. It was accompanied by the anxious and troubled voices of several bodyguards. "Wait, you can't go in now. Please don't make things difficult for us." You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.